A pleasant good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Friday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and the winter meetings are over, and the Mets came away with a relief pitcher, and not a whole lot else, other than some skepticism on the part of their fans, which, frankly, it's December, that's to be expected. But I'm going to talk about the winter meetings a little bit today and talk about some thoughts I had about free agents' possibilities for the Mets in 2018. The winter meetings are over, as I said, and the Mets came away with Anthony Swarzak, who's a pretty good reliever. I commented on a friend's post on Facebook about him, where it's sort of like a blah move by the Mets, you know, and it is. It's not a bad move, though. It's just not sexy. There's no sizzle around it. Swarzak is a good reliever. He pitched really well last year. He's reinvented himself, turned himself away from the pitcher that he was when he was with the Yankees a few years ago. And, you know, it's a matter of one of those situations where the guy just runs into the right pitching coach at the right time in his career, is able to find some new pitches, hone some skills that he already has, and go from there. So, you know, Swarzak is a great addition to the bullpen, but that's all the Mets did in Florida. Outside of talk to, as I had sort of joked about earlier this week, they seem to have talked to every agent who represents a free agent and had preliminary discussions with them. Some of them were more serious than others. Jason Kipnis was linked the other day. Mets are very serious about trading for Jason Kipnis. I'm sure they are. Unfortunately, they need a trade partner who will be willing to take their bargain basement offer, and that's always been a bit of a problem. So I'm sure the Mets would love to get their hands on some of these guys that are available via trade, but let's be honest, the Mets don't have the farm system, and they don't have the willingness to take on money to make a lot of these deals really possible. So these are just rumors, and they're just being talked about. And, you know, Sandy's doing what he's supposed to do. He's talking to the agents and whatnot, but it'd be nice if the reins could be lifted. And it gives me a chance to comment on something, because Sandy Alderson gets a bad rap, and perhaps some of it is deserving. I mean, he's always had this very dry attitude toward how he talks to reporters, and the jokes that he makes that are just really inappropriate to hear as a fan. You know, the joke he made about Brandon Nimmo being available, and so he didn't need Giancarlo Stanton. It's just in bad taste, you know, and that's a lot of the reason why I think Mets fans are tired of him. But at the end of the day, and I've said this already, I don't think it would matter if the Mets had Brian Cashman as their general manager. Until they have an ownership group who's willing to open up their wallets and spend money, a general manager is not going to be able to get much done. Now, there is something to be said for creativity, and that's a big sort of red X across Sandy Alderson's report card, where he just doesn't seem to be willing to get super creative to make these trades happen. So, you know, I just want to throw that out there. I don't think Sandy deserves to be the main cause of our ire as Mets fans. I do think more of that vitriol needs to be directed at the Wilpons, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who hold the purse strings. And until they open, there's not much a general manager can do. So I wanted to throw that out there. I was listening to the Meet the Mets cast this week. They recorded every night from following up on the winter meeting activities of the day. And I think it was Wednesday night, I think it was Wednesday's edition, where they talked about the free agents that the Mets might be looking at. And, you know, take the money situation away for a moment and just look at the fact that the Mets have glaring needs at both third base and right now in center field. And it was Rob Brender who said it on Meet the Mets cast. Go out and sign Mike Moustakas and go out and sign Lorenzo Cain, and you plug your two of the biggest holes that you have in your lineup with two acquisitions. You know, at first I was a little bit sour about it, but the more I think about it, I actually heard Rob's argument, and his argument for bringing in Moustakas, which I've sort of been opposed to, he makes a really strong case. And the case that he's making is he would be the perfect lefty complement for Michael Conforto in the lineup. lineup might have Conforto, then Cespedes, then Moustakas. That would be amazing. That would be an amazing lineup to have trotted out every day. You have that lefty-righty lefty feel, which would be awesome to see. As far as Lorenzo Cain goes, you know, he's getting a little bit older. He's not old by any means, but he's getting a little bit older. My concern about him is that as he ages, his defense is going to regress, and he's going to lose a step. And in the meantime, we do have Juan Lagares, who's sitting on the bench with his Gold Glove. I said it last week, I think, or the week before, that I would love for the Mets to just say, you know what, we're not going to acquire a center fielder. Juan, the position is yours. The only way they can do that is if they can sacrifice his inability, Lagares, that is, his inability to hit. The other wild card, of course, is his inability to stay healthy, but, you know, what can you do about that? So, the only way, as I was saying, this would work is if you do go out and you get a big bat like Moustakas or Jay Bruce or somebody who can bat in the middle of the lineup. You know, they're still lacking a leadoff hitter. That's unfortunate. I don't know that there's any solution to that. Lagares is not a leadoff hitter. Michael Conforto, by God, is not a leadoff hitter. I hope he's not leading off at all next year. He needs to be in a run-producing position in the lineup. He needs to bat third, fourth, or fifth. Period. You know, there can really be no getting around that. So, where do we go from here as Mets fans? We're bitter. We're angry. It is the middle of December. It's just after the winter meetings. Our crosstown rivals, the Yankees, seemingly go out and cherry pick whatever they want and get whatever they want. The Cardinals, meanwhile, are doing the same sort of thing where they went and traded with Florida to get Marcell Ozuna, which is a huge get for the Cardinals. You know, the Mets are just sitting quietly and pretending that they're a mid-market team, and they're not. And that's what, as I've said a number of times, that's what makes this so hard. So what do the Mets do? I don't know. I think the only solution is to either A, go out, open the purse strings and sign Moustakas, which would address two needs, third base and a bat in the lineup, or get creative and figure out how to make a trade to somebody. I'm not envying Sandy Alderson's position right now, because I don't know that there's an easy fix for any of this. And it's amazing that the team was in the World Series in 2015, was in the playoffs in 2016, or on such a, what seemed to be such a climb, a rise, you know, moving upwards, not downwards. And it's amazing how quickly that switch just flipped, and the Mets seemed to have just sort of dropped, like they were on the Tower of Terror or something. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Another sort of doom and gloom edition of Driving with Mr. Met. But as I said, it's December. It's how it goes for Mets fans, so we should be used to it by now. I thank you for watching, as always. If you're not following me on Twitter, you can do so at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.